and welcome to the Sunday Show on Africa Independent Television, AIT. My name is Obia Juru. We are glad to be with you again to inform, entertain, perhaps address those critical issues that form part of our daily lives. There appears to be no hiding place for or the way out for Nigerians as the hike in tariffs of basic commodities and services across the sectors continue to take effect, with the ordinary Nigerians being at the receiving end of it all. Is Nigeria really on the path of economic recovery? Will the citizens eventually have a sigh of relief? These are questions to form part of our discussion on the program today. But before we proceed, let's have my associate uncle, McQueen Joseph, the resident president.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
How was your week?
My week has been hiked with the tariff.
I don't look at the tariff. I use the heavenly tariff. And that is why it cannot show on my skin.
All right. Good morning, and I salute the never say die spirit of Nigerians. It's good to be here this morning, and even better to have you join us as usual, giving us the urge, morale, and motivation to serve you better. Truly, it has been like a chain of announcements followed swiftly by implementations in the terms of the hike in tariffs for various goods and services. That makes it more serious is the fact that these goods and services are parts of the everyday lives of the people, and of course the increase in their prices have continued to make lives more difficult for the majority of the citizens. The government, on the other hand, will refer to the situation as inevitable, with assurances of working towards making life better for all Nigerians.
That is it. That's right. But in reality, for example, the subsidy removal on petrol at the very start of the current administration under President Ahmed Bola Tinubu automatically skyrocketed the prices of commodities, which trickled down to high cost in transportation, food items, and a host of others, while Nigerians lamented and tried to cope with the policies and agencies and assurances of better days ahead from the government. Another hike in electricity tariff was introduced. It is not clear whether the dust settled in the electricity tariff hike before the pay TV outfits announced and began implementation of increased tariff plan. The list perhaps is longer than we can take for the purpose of our discussion on the program today.
Surely it has been from one increment in price of a basic commodity of service to another. Well, permit me to mention the telecommunication service providers. Theirs appear to have come into effect with the speed of light, after the federal government approval and the organized labor suspended protest on the development. On the show today, we shall narrow it down to the tariff hike in electricity, the various plans or services and payment systems, and most of all, the realities on ground. Our guest, Majid Dahiru, a renowned columnist and a public affairs analyst, will be here to do justice to this discussion.
Yes, it really sure will be an expository section with him. Please stay tuned as we bring you the news of the week. Don't go anywhere.
initially, the liter of fuel is 700 naira. Now, those that will carry passengers from Maraba to Area 1, one person will pay 700. Is it one person supposed to pay the whole one of fuel? Meanwhile, the liter of fuel goes and carry 36 passengers. So they're not supposed to carry one passenger 700. Now, the fuel will come down more. Like this is my cashew now. We are selling 7,500. The fuel will come down. The transportation they use to maybe this cashew for me will come down. Then I will just have my price.
The purchasing power has reduced drastically. So what you can buy with 10 naira before, you will buy it with 50 naira now. And that has affected families. Now, you can barely give your family 3 square meters now because of this increase in tariff. And this has really affected the family because children are now becoming recalcitrant. They're not even obeying their parents again. They want something and you're not able to provide, and this will eventually increase the crime in the society. The basic thing that is it.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Sunday show on African Independent Television, AIT. Our discussion section begins right away as we have seated our esteemed guest, Alhaji Majid Dahiru, a newspaper columnist and a public affairs analyst.
And today on our discussion, we're talking about the tariff hikes, the assessment of the power situation and implications. And we have in the studio with us Mr. Majid Dahiru, newspaper columnist and a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, sir.
Talking about the hike and hikes and hikes, you know, we keep counting them. At what stage are the ordinary Nigerians today in this electricity tariff? By the federal government, we have been told that the tariff hike is a retrospective adjustment to make up for revenue shortfalls from 2016. So, should the consumer be punished for these hikes? It's a very terrible situation. And I don't know how you see it.
Well, the thing is, the government of every nation must make up its mind on the extent it wants to go to provide for the welfare and security of citizens. And what I see is that Nigeria has not made up its mind on that, the Nigerian government and its leadership. And that is why you are having this kind of hikes from food prices to energy prices to electricity prices, and all other aspects of living appear to be on the rise, and it's reflected even in the formal data coming from the NBS about the steady rise in inflation. So it tells you that what it takes to stabilize prices, which is supposed to be a key responsibility of government, because inflation and rising prices is an enemy of any economy. We've not seen that approach from this government, and I think Nigerians have been left on their own. So we hear things like trying to raise price of or raise tariffs of electricity in order to make up for the costs that were incurred in previous years. It begins to tell you that we have been left on our own, really, and the situation is unbearable. If you describe Nigeria as going through a cost of living crisis, that would be very charitable. Because if you ask me what Nigerians are experiencing, is a cost of existence crisis. Because even food is no longer available to the common man. Because all of these hikes goes to affect the price of food. And as we speak today, Nigerians are struggling to feed. So it tells you that it is to even exist that Nigerians are struggling for. It's no longer to even live. I mean, you have to exist before you live. So the situation is more there than one can really imagine.
You have to exist before you live.
Of course.
Can you expatiate on this?
You see, basically you have to eat food to stay alive. And that is not luxury. And that is not asking for too much. So when you talk about cost of living crisis, as you experienced in the UK and some other parts of the world, it has to do with maybe cost of rent, maybe cost of electricity, yes, maybe cost of healthcare, maybe. But I don't know of any country in the developed world where people have complained of hunger, cost of food. Because every responsible government will always make sure that it provides food security as the basic minimum, the barest minimum requirement of welfare for citizens. In the case of Nigeria, it is not even available. So in addition to all of the things you've read out, Nigerians cannot afford decent meals to stay alive. Before they can talk about house rent, electricity costs, transportation costs, healthcare, school fees, and all other costs associated with living a decent life.
McQueen, hold it.
Yes.
I will want to ask here, like you did ask earlier on, that the citizens were told that tariff hikes is a retrospective adjustment to make up for the revenue shortfalls for the discos in 2016 and to 2018. All of these increases started from the removal of fuel subsidy, which the government had nothing in place, nothing on ground to cushion the effect on Nigerians. So, where do we go from here? Where are we? Because every other day, one announcement for one increase is being done, and even before Nigerians could even wake up from sleep, it has been implemented.
I think you've identified the source of the multifaceted increase you are seeing across board.
Yes.
And that was why some of us opposed, with all the strength we have, the removal of subsidy on petrol and the flotation of the exchange rate. We had long criticized these two policy propositions, what were even implemented as complete economic nonsense that should never be tried anywhere in the world, let alone Nigeria. And this is because, you see, in Nigeria, for instance, an import-dependent economy, a lot of things depends on importation in Nigeria, including even raw materials for our struggling industries. Secondly, petrol is the most widely utilized energy product in Nigeria. In fact, petrol drives your entire economy. Your SMEs, your logistics, name it. Petrol is the major energy input, even down to agriculture. And so we had told the government that any increase in price of petrol or a depreciation in Naira is going to cause a spiral in terms of rising cost of production for all right goods and services, including telecoms, including electricity. And that is why, as a government, you see, you have a responsibility to guarantee energy security for citizens. And you know what this means? It means that government has that responsibility, and it's a constitutional one, to make sure that energy, especially the one that is mostly used in Nigeria, which is in this case petrol, must be affordable at all times, just as it must be available and accessible. Now, the affordability aspect of it now mandates government to mandatorily, compulsorily use the instrumentality of subsidy to ensure that affordability, meaning that government will have to determine what the affordability threshold for citizens will be in terms of petrol pricing. So if, for instance, government decides that for a 70,000 naira minimum wage earning country, the price of petrol for such level of wages shouldn't be more than, say, 400 naira per litre. It means that any cost, any additional cost above 400 naira, government must be ready to absorb such costs, so as not to destroy the supposed individual and collective economies, as we've seen today. But unfortunately, the government has decided that subsidy on energy is an economic vice, is an economic haram that it must repent from. So it removed subsidy arbitrarily. And when you did that, you have now allowed so-called market forces to determine price of this important energy, very important one. So what you've seen is, it's been rising, even occasionally when it is said to have come down. It doesn't reflect in the market before officially it goes up again. Because there's no control. And let me tell you this, Nigeria is about the only country that I know in the entire world that you have this kind of energy management regime.
Horrible.
It's horrible because everything relies on energy. You see, what energy is to the economy, economic productivity, is what air or oxygen is to the living thing. So to exist primarily, you must be able to take in air freely and breathe out. Imagine if God, in His infinite mercy, did not make air free for human beings. I mean, by then we would have all gone into extinction. So because of the importance of air, I mean, it's like it keeps you alive. God gave it to us free of charge. Now, if there was a price tag on air, I'm sure nobody can afford it.
Nobody would have.
Is there any part of the world where any government do not subsidize for the citizens?
Okay, I'll tell you something today. From North America to Southeast Asia, to the Middle East, to even North Africa, food is mandatorily, as a matter of government responsibility, subsidized. The citizens of this entire jurisdiction I've mentioned do not buy food at market prices, including the United States of America, including the UK, including the European Union, including France, including Saudi Arabia, including Brazil. It's a taboo for citizens to buy food at market rates. Food is heavily subsidized. That is one. In addition to subsidizing food, energy is also substantially, depending on jurisdiction, subsidized, including the United States of America. It matters to know that petrol is subsidized in America.
So where did our
Electricity
government
surprise.
get all of this
I don't-
total removal
I don't
of
know.
subsidy?
Saudi Arabia subsidizes petrol and other hydrocarbon-derived energy products. And some countries have gone a notch higher to also subsidize, if not provide free healthcare. Subsidize, if not free, educational services for their citizens. So, if you cannot give us free education, if you cannot give us free healthcare, at least food and energy should be subsidized at the minimum. Because when you hear that government has a responsibility to provide energy, to provide security and welfare, an integral part of that security that it should provide goes beyond police and army. Part of that security is energy security.
That's it.
And food security.
It's a government responsibility as well as food security. Because without these two, you can't even have police and army security. You can't. They are tied together. So it was a fundamental blunder of policy decision-making for this government to have taken that decision to remove subsidy on petrol and to float the exchange rate. We are not likely to recover from this crisis until these policies are reversed effectively.
How is it going to be reversed?
The people that did it, they have to undo it. And it is very possible.
But they are not even thinking about it.
That is the problem, because, you see, there was a consensus, though, on the eve of the election that this should be done. But haven't seen the devastating effect 1 year plus later. Nobody needs to tell you to take that courageous part of retracing your step. So if this man cannot do it, we also want to see the opposition propose an alternative to what we have today. And it's also sad that none of them have been able to come up
We do not have opposition.
with the courage to say, look, we want to do this because what has been done needs to be undone. And so that leaves us in a state of quandary.
Let's streamline it down to power tariff. Because up till today, many Nigerians are yet to actually understand the power distribution plan, especially the classification of consumers from band A, band B, band C, and what have you. You know, how did that even start, and why did we get to this place?
You see, the energy sector in Nigeria, particularly as concerned electricity, is in crisis. Okay, there are three value chains essentially: the distribution side, the transmission side, as well as the generation side. So the two ends have been privatized, generation and distribution, leaving the government to be in charge of transmission. Now, again, electricity is generally classified as utility in most developed or developing countries. It's called utility, just like water. Meaning, it's not something that should be entirely priced at a commercial rate. Meaning, privatization shouldn't have come in the first place. That's where the problem started from. It's a government utility for the people. If you recall, before the elections, Mr. Peter B went to Egypt to study the electricity market, and he discovered that they have 100% access to electricity.
100%
That is, they have electricity 24 hours of every day to everybody that wants it. But there was something I asked them. What was responsible for that, and what is the structure of the electricity market? That answer has not come from that quarter, but I'll tell you today. The electricity company of Egypt is owned wholly by the government of Egypt, 100%.
Wow.
Yes. It is the same thing in South Korea, same thing in France. It is the same thing in Canada. Most of the power companies from Canada you see are actually owned by the provinces of Canada.
Yeah.
So what these companies do is that they have overseas investor destinations. So for a country like Nigeria or like UK does not really have a power company that is owned by the government, except the municipality of London, which has a London power company. But the majority of the UK depend on private companies that are mostly owned by European countries. So EDF for France operates in the UK. The largest windmill in the UK is owned by the Swedish government. So what has happened in these countries, they build UK people commercial rates, and they use the profit to subsidize for the people at home. So it tells you that this is something the government cannot abdicate, that responsibility. And to make it easier, we should be talking about Band A, Band B, Band C by now. Since the federal structure of the teachers has been messed up, luckily there's a way out. This president has signed into law the Electricity Act 2023, which has now given states the power to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity within their jurisdiction.
Oh, wow.
The focus of the media now should be on the states, including the FCT. So the question should be, how much has the FCT put on ground to invest in provision of power as utility for FCT residents? How much has Lagos State government done in that direction? How much has Anambra State government done? How has any state put one block down?
That's the question I was going to ask. Has any state
So we need to
looked into that direction?
We need to begin to tell the states.
We blame
to do
federal
this.
government for everything.
Yes.
So it's time to hold the state governors
In this
accountable.
regard, the states need to be held accountable because they have all it takes now to provide utility, by way of electricity, for their citizens, and it is not rocket science. So since the federal structure due to privatization has actually gone wrong and has become kind of entangled with a lot of issues, okay, can't the states start on a clean slate by making investments required of states to power their jurisdictions? So the focus now, so the people that can bail us out from Band A, Band B, Band C, and all the bandages are the state governments as we speak.
These are real bandages.
It's crazy. It is. It is. It is very, very challenging, seriously, because if you come to look at the situation where Nigerians actually found themselves since this government came to power, you begin to ask ourselves, those of them that are in power as ministers, as governors, as PAM secretaries, or whatever they are called, are they really finding it easy like every other? Because when you say Band A, Band B, Band C, let's take Abuja, for example. A lot of these Band A, Band whatever bandages, like you rightly addressed it, these areas still don't have power.
Definitely so.
The power is not available.
It's not available.
And the areas where they have power, like my own place where I stay, there is power. But the cost, I spend over 20,000 naira every week to recharge.
Every week?
Yes. Just a home of
even
how many bedroom apartments?
Even when you say it's available, it's not supposed to be available 24 hours. That is, it is better,
No, it's not. It's not
better,
available.
I don't know of any part of
At least,
Nigeria
like
that just 24
I
hours.
left the house since 5:15. I don't know what is going on, but when I return back, there is power. And the first thing I go to do every day I return, I go and check the meter and see what is left there. It's speeding like just have a deep freezer, one big fridge, and then how many air conditioners? Sitting room, the 2 living rooms, and you're paying so much. And when you complain, they will tell you, Madam, na Band A. So where do we go from here, Majid?
Again, government must make up its mind on what it wants to do for citizens.
So much fraud.
So do you want your citizens to keep suffering and bear the high costs of energy, or do you want to come to their relief? Now, the UK, for instance, despite not having state-owned enterprise that can absorb the costs for these services, began to impose subsidies on electricity. They call it energy price cap. That is, any price, any cost of energy that goes beyond certain levels, the government absorbs it of the citizens. Meaning that even in the most civilized part of the world, there is some form of subsidy for energy. So government cannot continue to sit down and allow citizens to suffer. This you are complaining is because your bills are taking a chunk of your legitimate salary.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
That is the reason why you're complaining.
Exactly.
And the government has only been able to implement a 70,000 minimum wage in a very haphazard manner, meaning it's still not enough to meet up with the cost
The 70,000 naira is not even buying me electricity for a month.
For a month.
So
where do we go from here, really?
the journey is far.
The take home is not taking us home.
It's not even taking you to the next bus stop.
Take you home.
It's not taking you to the next bus stop. Now, the issue of, we've been talking about electricity tariff. Now we have the telecommunications tariff. Before Nigerians even knew what was going on, Labour called off the strike. They promised to go to the streets to ensure they want to protect the citizens. And before you know it, the thing has been implemented. We woke up from sleep and...
New regime.
Yes.
New price regime on the telecommunication.
No, as for the telecoms, it's simply a matter of cause and effect. Telecoms are largely private companies that came in on their own to invest in Nigeria without any form of government support. In fact, they paid your government to obtain licenses in hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay.
Telecoms provide for themselves security that your government is supposed to provide for their facilities, provide for themselves. And because you don't have electricity to supply to them, they also power all of their transmission facilities.
Like we have some here.
All of it, they do it on in
the generator powering the mast is permanently on 24 hours.
Permanently across the country. The cost of diesel has gone up. Cost of petrol has gone up. Cost of everything has gone up. It will be a miracle for these companies not to adjust their prices of their services to reflect their cost of production. So NLC coming out to protest the hike in tariff of telecoms is a misplaced one. NLC have protested the wall of subsidy abolition and the flotation of the naira.
And nothing came out of it.
These are the entire situation you are seeing today. All of it are actually hinged on the foundation of subsidy movement and the flotation of the naira. We saw the naira depreciate almost 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because this government met the exchange rate at less than 500 naira.
Or thereabout official rate.
Yes.
And for it was happening, it got to
1,500.
It was already 2,000 before they allowed him to do some form of intervention.
Yes.
Just to make sure it doesn't get to 2,000 naira per dollar.
And that makes whatever we make as our take home or take to the bus stop like tissue paper.
It is tissue paper indeed.
Yes.
Yes.
So where do we go from here?
It's very...
The salaries are just not even taking us anywhere.
So Labour, again, didn't push through their demand for a living wage. They settled for a minimum wage of 70,000 naira. And so...
Which is how much as in dollar?
That's less than $40 per month.
And
yes.
we also got hints that during the meeting between Labour and the federal government, they said when they if Labour accept the 70,000, they feel there will be no more increment in price of fuel.
That was why Labour should have protested increment in price of petrol.
After the agreement, we had several increases from that particular price.
A president pronounced subsidy is gone. And he now tells you that there will be no increase in price.
And it happened to be the day he was being inaugurated.
Is he the one in control anymore? Was there appropriation for subsidy in the budget he presented in 2024? It was not there. So what magic was the president going to do to make sure that the price does not go above the price it was at the time we were negotiating? It's no longer in his control. It's now subject to free market and market dictates, market forces dictate. So
that was just word of mouth.
And you know what?
And the government should have known better.
Anything that goes up does not come down.
The thing is, the foundation that should have made it come down is simply not there. It's not there. The reason we're not buying petrol at a higher price today is because some government has somehow intervened to make sure that the exchange rate does not depreciate further than it is. So they now auction dollars to bureau exchange operators from time to time, just to make sure that...
Cushion the effect.
Exactly. Something they vowed not to do. Similarly, that is also having an impact.
Is that also not subsidy?
You can't run a economy that subsidy. So why float the naira if you knew that the time will come that you will have to unfloat it, as they've done now? So they've effectively unfloated it, and they're doing what is called a managed float regime. So whenever you allow the market forces to dictate the value, and it begins to depreciate too much, you intervene again. So if you knew that intervention was going to be necessary, why did you in the first place remove intervention and allowed it to depreciate so steeply before you resume that intervention? Somebody needed to be held responsible for this. Unfortunately, nobody is going to.
And all of this affected not just all these tariff increases Medicals.
The foundation of the economy essentially
Everything
rests
is
on
just-
on these two issues, energy and foreign exchange. So if you do not fix these things, the foundation is weak. So your economy will be like quicksand. It will be
Sinking.
It will be sinking. It will be susceptible to shocks here and there.
All right, you're still watching the Sunday Show, and we're talking tariff hikes, assessment of the power situation, and the implications thereafter. And as it is, we have in the studio Mr. Majid Dahiru, and he is a newspaper columnist and a public affairs analyst. We are so pained with the situation as it is, and where is the solution now? Where is the way forward? Because everybody is talking about the situation, the pains and the challenges. Now, how do we get to fix these problems?
And
How
let's
do you
let
see
him
this?
just respond to that in the next less than a minute, because we got to go.
The solution is to reverse the policies that are responsible for all of this in the first instance.
Wow.
You have said all of this during newspaper reviews.
It has no other solution.
That's just the solution.
That is all. How did we get here? Started from May 29,
Yes.
2023, when he pronounced subsidy gone. Let him
But
pronounce
before
subsidies
the
back.
president make those pronouncements, did he actually take time to look at the books on ground before he make that pronouncement?
Okay, I wouldn't fault the president for that pronouncement. You know why? Before the election, there was a national consensus that this should be done. Even though a few of us opposed it, like you rightly pointed out on our regular program here, we said it was a wrong idea, but there was an overwhelming majority because subsidy was diminished, was delegitimized, was demarketed as wasteful, corruption, all of the negative tendencies. So people began to believe that, okay, that is good as our problem. In fact, at the point we thought subsidy was a problem. I never did. I knew that subsidy was not a problem. Government was simply trying to abdicate their responsibility towards citizens. But they succeeded in deceiving the majority of us to believe that it was the right thing to do. It was so widespread, the propaganda was so effective that on the eve of the election, all three candidates actually pledged to remove subsidy. All our economists said the same thing. In fact, the inauguration dinner for the president, Professor, or is it Dr. Akim Adishino, was a guest lecturer. And he had one major demand for the president upon the appointment of horses, remove subsidy. So the president was actually hailed, if you recall, for remove subsidy initially.
Yes.
I said this decision was courageous and bold. And again, I said there was nothing bold and courageous about the application of responsibility. 1 year plus now, we've seen that.
So money saved from
You
the
can't
removal-
you can't save money from subsidy removal. It's not possible.
So what was the essence?
Now it's like telling me you want to save money by denying me air to breathe. When I'm dead, what is
Penny wise,
of
pound
what?
foolish.
Thank you
That's
so much.
exactly what it is.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking with a newspaper columnist and a public affairs analyst. He's a very known face. He's bold. He's everything you can think of. You get him here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Majid
for having
Dahiru.
me. It's
Thank
an
you.
honor. It's an honor to be
The
here.
program returns shortly. Don't go anywhere.
Grab your seats and join us on the most fascinating 60-minute infotainment journey, showing on your favorite TV channel, Africa Independent Television, AIT. Analysis on topical national issues, news, sports, and entertainment are on the menu. It's a show you do not want to miss. It is The Sunday Show.
So there you have it. I am sure you enjoyed every bit of that interactive session. We are indeed delighted to have such a guest with a vast knowledge in the issues pertaining the sector. It is time now to join the Vibes and Views and Newsmaker segment. Do stay with us.
Hello, welcome to the Vibes and Views segment on the Sunday Show. My name is Anu Awojabi. It's time to relax to some entertainment stories.
Kadara, destiny. Who decides where we are born, the life we have?
It appears the Saleko descendants can now heave a sigh of relief after about 2 years battle with the producers of the crime thriller Gangs of Lagos, among other defendants, following the release of the movie in April 2023, which they found distasteful. Hence, the Saleko Descendants Union, led by its chairman Kazim Adeniji SAN, sought a court order urging the Lagos State Film and Video Censors Board to impose a 10 billion naira fine against the defendants for what it described as a wrong representation of Isale Eko as a den of criminals and the Eyo Masquerade as a gang of murderers. In the course of the outgoing week, when the matter was brought before the presiding judge at the Lagos High Court, Tafawa Balewa Square, Justice Idowu Alakija agreed with the applicant's arguments that the film misrepresented and demeaned the cultural significance of the Eyo Masquerade, as well as the peaceful disposition and long-standing traditions of the Isale Eko community. He then ordered that the defendants issue a formal and unequivocal apology to the applicants, specifically to the Isale Eko Descendants Union, the Bajulaye Chieftaincy family, and the Shashore Chieftaincy family. The 2 hours 4 minutes film, Gangs of Lagos, produced and directed by Jade Sola Oshiberu, has also been banned from public viewing and streaming. That's my package for you. My name is Anu Awojobi.
And when you talk about human capital development, what are you talking about? Education, health, and social protection. When the president was campaigning all over the country, he said, I would take difficult that. He spoke to Nigerians directly and told them, I'll be honest with you. I'll take difficult decisions. But those decisions that I will take, it's not for now, but for prosperity, for the future of your children and the future of your grandchildren. And when you have a leader making decisions like that, based on the future of your children and your grandchildren, you can be 100% assured that those are right decisions. And when you take right decisions, difficult decisions. That's what this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done, and now we're all seeing the result of those difficult decisions. The light at the end of the tunnel, we're seeing it clearly, and I can assure you the tunnel is now getting shorter and shorter. We're getting to El Dorado, and you heard the Minister of Information just rolled out some of the gains that we're seeing. But these are real gains, not superficiality, no band-aid, but these are gains based on real fundamentals of our economy. Now, I'll talk about education. The several challenges that we've met, but some of these numbers are now better. We have about 60 million Nigerians between the ages of 5 and 14 years old. Of these 60 million Nigerians, 45 million of them are learning poor. What do I mean by learning poor? That means a child that belongs to this 45 million within the category of the million people cannot read age-appropriate tests at the age of 10. We have one of the highest burdens of children that are learning poor in the country. And we also have an unviable record of having the second highest number of children that are out of school in the world. We need to know our problems so that we can put strategies to clearly and meticulously address these problems. Of these 15 million people, that are out of school. 50% of them have never been enrolled in school. 5% of them are dropout, and 25% of them belongs to the Amagiri category. And there's arguments back and forth if the Amagiris are really out of school, because they go to school, but they're just not getting Western education. But we have clear strategy on how to take numeracy, literacy, and vocational skills to these Nigerians. Also, looking at our girl child, the female population, we have 20 million adolescent girls today in Nigeria between the ages of 12 and 19. 6 million of those young Nigerians are out of school. And with a fertility rate of about 103 births per thousand, we have our population is projected to rise in the next 25 years to 400 million. We have to sprint. Today, we have clear strategies on how to do this, to address all these challenges that have laid before Nigerians. We've come up with clear agenda under our Nigerian Education Sector Renewal Initiative, with clear strategic goals, which is moving our nation from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. We have that capacity. Nigeria has a unique demography in the world. Very unique. Good demography that we need to tap. We have a population of 220 million people. Of these 220 million people, 70% of that population, they will be below the ages of 30 years. But vibrant, youthful population, dynamic population, eager to learn, eager to work, making changes, both in Nigeria, globally. So what do we need to do as a government is to equip them with the skills that they need. And that's what we're doing exactly as the Ministry of Education, to move our country from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. Clear strategic goal to reduce the number of out-of-school children, reduce learning poverty, increase skills and human capital development. And we have a clear 3 pillars on how we're going to do this and how we're doing this. Equitable access to basic education that includes increased level of literacy, numeracy, and critical thinking with skills. Reducing the burden of our out-of-school children and integrating these kids into formal education, giving them formal education, and beyond formal education, giving them life skills for them to be able to be useful to themselves, to the community they live, to the country and the world at large. The second pillar, increase quality of education and learning outcomes. I'll go into each of our strategies under each pillar. And the third pillar, strengthen governance and management in our education system. With these clear 3 pillars, we have 3 cross-cutting enablers: data and digitalization. We need data. Without data, you can't really plan. We need data to plan, intervene, and monitor outcomes. We've laid out a clear, robust data and digitalization agenda for our education system. We have inaugurated the Nigerian Education Data Infrastructure Platform. We're working closely with the Ministry of Communication, Digital Economy, as well as NIDA. We have a clear agenda on how we will roll all our education data from the foundational level into one data, going to our secondary school level as well as the tertiary school level. We've also started intense collaboration with our sub-national government. We've met with the Nigerian Governors Forum, and we also have series of meetings that are planned ahead. We work to rejuvenate the Commissioner of Education, the State Commissioner of Education Forum. We've met several times. We're queuing them in our agenda as we move along. Also, we're also working, developing renewed partnerships with the private sector so that we can all coordinate together, plan together, so that we can all be our intervention will be more impactful. Next slide. So, priority intervention areas. TVET. Technical vocational education is the bedrock of what we're doing now. We have an expansive agenda to move hundreds of thousands of young Nigerians to give them the life skills that they need. And when we talk about technical and vocational education and training now, it's real technical and vocational training. We will adopt the parental role. 20% didactic and 80% practical training. When I say parental role, what is success? Parental is what is success? 80% policy, and 20% policy and 80% implementation. And that's how we can be successful within our expansive TVET agenda. We have clear 4 steps on how we intend to do this. Step 1, we would incentivize our young citizens, Nigerians, to go to technical and vocational skills. We will pay them monthly stipends, pay them accommodation to get to where they're going to get the skills. Step 2, the schools that we've identified. 3 clear areas of training. Number 1, the skill training centers, the Vocational Enterprise Institute, and the state and federal technical colleges will be the 3 major areas where we will be training these children.
Grab your seats and join us on the most fascinating 60-minute infotainment journey, showing on your favorite TV channel, Africa Independent Television, AIT. Analysis on topical national issues, news, sports, and entertainment are on the menu. It's a show you do not want to miss. It is The Sunday Show.
With the Newsmaker segment, we draw the curtains on the show today. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to keep our interactions going through our online platforms. Surely we will be here again, same time, same station next week. Please stay safe and be your brother's keeper. As usual, you did keep me now.
Yeah, we definitely. But you know, the part I liked was when I was complaining about the tariff. You said the heavenly
tariff.
The heavenly tariff. And I think when you keep your hopes high and hand over everything to God Almighty, definitely there's going to be a way out. Because at the end of the day, we don't even know how we survive these situations.
That is the truth. Because even the 70,000 naira minimum wage has not been implemented in so many quarters.
Very well.
So, how are we living every day? Some of us are paying over 70, 80,000 naira for fuel to get to the office. If you're driving, you're coming on public transport, none is actually easy. But Nigerians keep moving.
Nigerians are resilient. That's the reason why I said never die, never say die spirit. Well, let's enjoy ourselves, have a wonderful time, and keep watching programs on Africa Independent Television.
Bye-bye now. Have a wonderful week out there.